Good morning. Welcome everyone on this wet Thursday morning, November 4th today. Jan Akins, good morning to you. Welcome this morning. See who else shows up on this Thursday morning. Barbara Richardson, welcome. Good morning. Well, according to my phone, there was supposed to be more rain last night than there actually was. So we'll see what this little system brings us. Daryl and Suzanne, good to see you this morning. Good morning, Mom. Glad you're here this morning. Karen Faust, good morning. Welcome, everyone. Lori Agassi, welcome. Wait for a couple other names here. Debbie King. Good morning. Janisa. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. We are continuing in our study of Ecclesiastes. We're beginning chapter 2. We're going to spend a few days in chapter 2. Today's the last day of this week, but we'll pick it back up on Monday. Carmen, good morning. Welcome. And so Solomon is our instructor here, and he is gathering all his resources, both his wealth and his wisdom that God has divinely bestowed upon him, to test what is good. And this is the ancient question of mankind, to know what is good. What is it that is healthy and good and wise and profitable for man to engage in during his time on earth? The Bible helps us with to answer these questions actually quite satisfyingly, but Ecclesiastes it serves to test the many ways that we attempt at discerning what is good, what will bring, and his measuring tool is what will bring lasting contentment, lasting fulfillment. And so he uses his resources to test all kinds of ways that might bring to the heart of man a sense of gain. So, chapter 2. I'm going to finish up chapter 1 a little bit. I'm going to read something from chapter 1. So it sets the stage for what he's trying to accomplish by chapter 2. He said, I said in my heart, this is chapter 1, verse 16, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied, this is verse 17, and I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. So Solomon has achieved more than any king, even David, and he has more wisdom. He's known for having more wisdom than any king. And so he's a rich, wealthy, profitable, he's built a ton of things. David built the palace, but apparently Solomon continued building projects, gardens, and just developing the estate that his palace was on, and so on. Of course, Solomon builds the temple as well. The temple's not mentioned in this section we're going to read, but you think about what Solomon has accomplished. There's a lot. Jerusalem, you could argue that Israel itself reaches its pinnacle with Solomon, and Jerusalem itself, the city, he really invests a lot in the surrounding areas, so that primarily because other nations, when they see your grand buildings and gardens and beautiful estate, your country and so on, and the riches and the wealth of your country, it's a way of impressing the other nations. This is the whole reason David wanted to build a temple, is because he wanted something like other nations who had these grand, amazing temples to the gods of Canaan. He's like, our God lives in a tent. We want big, massive temple, big, massive temple, because that's our God's better than every other God. So he needs a bigger house. And that wasn't God's idea. That was David's idea. God blessed it and so on. But I'm just giving these examples of the accomplishments of David and Solomon enjoying all of this that David started, he continued. And so his point here is, I'm going to apply my wisdom to know what can be gained, what can be held in your hand that would bring lasting contentment, lasting fulfillment. And he's going to test that in chapter 2 with the pleasures of achievement and what he calls folly, but it's really just indulging can you enjoy what you've achieved? Like, I've achieved it, and I'm going to really spend time enjoying it. And so it becomes an experiment, if you will. He calls it a test. So I'm going to read for you in chapter 2, verse 1. I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure. When we think of testing, at least when I think of testing, it's not a pleasurable experience, but here he is undergoing the test of pleasure, a test we all wished we would, I'll sign up for that test, right? I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy yourself, he says. But behold, he's just going to jump right to the point. It's all vanity. It's a chasing after the wind. It didn't accomplish the lasting gain that I thought it might. That was the result of the test. So he's conducting this objective test of pleasure. What value does it bring? So he says, I said of laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure, what use is it? So this gives us a little bit clue of his measuring tool here, his measuring device. When he says, what use is pleasure? Use has the idea of what have I gained? What practical outcome is pleasure? And he will conclude that there is no practical outcome. There's nothing I could put in the bank at the end of pleasure. That's not to say pleasure isn't good. So he writes, so all the things I'm about to read are all characterized as good things, particularly when you have all the resources that a king does, and everything he's writing here, even though he calls it madness and folly, those terms aren't meant to be considered immoral or judgmental, as these are things you should not do. Now, some of them we would say, you may want to steer away from that, but think in the mind of an ancient Near Eastern king and what was normalized for them. And so, we have to look kind of at this with non-judgmental eyes. He is looking at this as, I experienced all good things. These are all the things that mankind would say, these are good, these are pleasurable, and I indulge myself with the objectivity of my wisdom and to determine what is the lasting good. And so we have to understand his measuring tools. And we would agree with most of the stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing. We'd all want to enjoy these things. So he says, laughter and pleasure, what use is it? He's already saying it fell short of my measuring tool, which is usefulness. He says, I searched my heart how to cheer my body with wine. So he didn't deny himself any strong drinks. This is why the Bible calls this wine makes you glad of heart. Now, none of us would want to be the drunkard. We're not talking about a derelict here. We're talking about someone who's enjoying life. And part of that enjoyment is enjoying the grapes that you yourself have planted and cultivated, and you've created a sense of accomplishment and gladness of heart by drinking the wine that that Solomon has created. So there's, again, casting no shadow on this. I'm not talking about alcoholism and drunkenness and debauchery, what the New Testament would call debauchery, right? Excessively, self-indulgent behavior. This is all within the normal, pleasurable, good ways of enjoying your accomplishments. It says, I searched my heart and how to cheer my body with wine. And he brings that objective sense still back into it. My heart's still guiding me with wisdom. So this is an objective experiment. And he says, and how to lay hold on folly. Again, this is not characterized as a bad thing. He's just saying it's okay to have pleasure. It doesn't make you a better person. You haven't achieved a degree in pleasure, right? There's no certificate you get at the end. There's nothing that you really gain that you can put in the bank and bank on later. But it's not looked at as bad. He's just saying it doesn't measure up to the tool I'm using to measure it, which is gain. How to lay hold of folly, that I might see what is good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. I'll keep reading. I made great works. So talking about achievement. I built houses, planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks. I planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves. I had slaves who were born in my house. All this depicts wealth. Again, slavery we wouldn't look at as good, right? But in the context of a king in ancient Near East, it is a sign of his great wealth, that he has this giant household that requires a lot of people to run it, okay? And not only did he hire those people, there's generations of slaves in his house, people having kids who grew up also to serve in the household. So we're looking at a pretty long period of time here. It takes a long time to build a vineyard. You don't drink wine from a vineyard 6 months after you plant it. We're talking years after you plant a vineyard do you start enjoying the wine of that vineyard. So his achievements actually took years. This experiment is much shorter in duration, but his achievement took years to accomplish. And he's just applying wisdom to what did it produce in me, in my sense of personal satisfaction and my ability to enjoy it as a wealthy person. I bought male and female. Oh, I just read that. Verse 8, I also gathered for myself silver and gold, the treasure of kings and provinces. So of all of the other nations who were paying tribute to him, he was buying and selling. He was trading the resources of Israel with other nations and acquiring gold and silver and just becoming rich, richer than any other king. And he got singers, both men and women, many concubines, the delight of the children of man. Again, not casting any shadow on these activities. In Solomon's mind and in relation to other kings, he's doing the normal stuff that would bring pleasure to a human being. And he's in the status of king. So, his end result, verse 9, so I became great, surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. Again, it's the objectivity of his wisdom. He's saying, I did all these works of achievement. I accomplished more than any other king in Jerusalem. And I also had the ability to enjoy it. I just wasn't a miser with this stuff. I just wasn't this driven achiever that I'm never satisfied with achievement. I need the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. That's not the kind of achievement he's describing here. He actually had a kind of a healthy level of achievement, building these great things and taking time to enjoy them. He derived great pleasure from slowing down, stopping, and just enjoying all the product of his achievements. And he says, verse 10, whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil. So if he was seeking pleasure, did not deny himself any pleasure, he says right here, I found it. I found pleasure. It really was pleasurable. He's not saying that he didn't have a good time. I did all these things, and I stopped, and I did this pleasure experiment. I enjoyed all the things that I had made. I enjoyed all of the achievements. And I didn't deny myself anything. And in fact, it was pleasurable. I enjoyed them all. It was great. But here's his test again. As great as it was, did it produce lasting contentment, lasting satisfaction, something I feel like I could put in the bank, excuse me, that will pay off for the future? And the answer is no. It doesn't. It was pleasurable during the time I was acquiring the pleasure, but it didn't make me any more satisfied or content. In the moment it did, but it didn't last. He says, then I considered, this is verse 11, then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil I had expended in doing it. As strange as it sounds that his toil was pleasure. All this toiling in enjoying the parks and the gardens and the singers and the wine and the food and the riches. Such toil, right? Anyway, behold, all was vanity. It fell short of the goal. All was vanity and striving after the wind. There was nothing to be gained under the sun. Remember, he said initially, about pleasure, what use is it? It's not like a tool you can wield. It has limits. It is great, but it is very limited in its scope. It is for the moment only. And beyond that, there's no lasting gain. And that's his measuring tool. So it falls short. And it's limited. Was it good? Yeah, sure. He enjoyed it all. But when he observed with wisdom, with his objective testing, he found that pleasure was very limited. There was nothing to be gained. It didn't make me a better person. It didn't last beyond the moment of enjoying the pleasure. So what's the point here? What's our takeaway? I think that we have to understand the limits of pleasure. So oftentimes during our normal day-to-day grind, going to work or raising our children or taking care of our household, what we find, is that it never ends. There's never an end to the next thing we must accomplish. And that in of itself can become burdensome. I mean, I think about our household. We own our own home, but there's never an end to the upkeep of that home. We have to always pull weeds in the garden. We have to prune our trees in due season. We have to mow our lawn. We have to make sure that our lawn and garden has enough water. My back deck right now is suffering some damage over the many, many years that it's been there. Some of the beams are rotting, need to be replaced. All that takes money, so I got to go out and make money and make sure I'm investing that back into my house so that everything is not only functional, but it's enjoyable, right? So that there's this never end to the things that we need to be taken care of, and so we sometimes that produces in us this burden, not just of our household or of work or our family obligations or all the things that feel burdensome to us. Some of our goals in this in and of itself is it gets overwhelming, and I want to escape for a time. I want to just have pleasure. If I just could just sit and enjoy. This is one of the things sometimes Martha and I have this conversation about. I just want to enjoy our house, and I can't enjoy our house if there's these projects that are undone. They need to get done. But the argument can be made that the projects will always be undone. No matter how many projects we do, there's always going to be another project. So having this ability to slow down, stop, and then just enjoy it is a gift in and of itself. Solomon will make this point later in another chapter of Ecclesiastes, but he's already implied it here. Not only did I do all the projects, but I enjoyed them too. I was able to enjoy them. But the problem, the message he's given us is that enjoyment has limits. So when we think about the toil of life, sometimes we think about pleasure as the goal. I want to find and derive pleasure from these things, which we do, but we have to understand pleasure's limits. We can go on vacation. We can go on a cruise. We can think of retirement sometimes as the permanent vacation. I guess on this side of retirement, we can think about that. If you are retired, you know the folly of that idea. It's not a permanent vacation. Pleasure, as good as it is, and we should enjoy ourselves. It's looked at as a very positive thing. But we have to understand its limits. It does not bring us lasting contentment. It's not something that's going to make us a better person. So we should keep it in, we should be able to enjoy pleasure within those limits. Sometimes we overindulge pleasure, right? That's what leads to, we'll utilize pleasure as a medication for the things, other toils of life that are hard for us, whether that's anxiety or broken relationships or looming deadlines or whatever else that we are trying to avoid, or is producing a ton of uncomfortable emotions in us. Like, we need to get rid of those emotions, so we seek pleasure to offset that. We'll go out and do some retail therapy, right? We'll go buy something that feels really good. We'll go on vacation, that feels really good. We'll enjoy a night out on the town, that feels really good. But all of us who've experienced these things understand that as good as they feel in the moment, when that moment ends, we're right back to the other toils of life. They aren't lasting. They don't pay forward into those toils. Like, man, I'm just going for the next 3 weeks on that weekend I had just now. It was so pleasurable. I'm just set for like a month now. That's not how it works, right? We'll still look back and go, oh, I wish I were still there on the weekend. Now I'm right back. It doesn't pay forward like that. And so we have to understand the limits of pleasure. And God puts that in that wise understanding in our heart so that we don't seek it as an end in and of itself. And when we seek pleasure as an end in and of itself, that's where we get into compulsive behaviors, addictions. That's when we really get unproductive in life. It becomes a real problem, right? Pleasure in and of itself it can become bad, right? And it doesn't accomplish anything of great lasting value in your life. We have to balance it with the toil stuff. So pleasure is good, Solomon is saying. Just understand that it has limitations. Enjoy it for the moment, but don't overindulge it, or don't think of it as a way of creating a lasting gain. Like, my whole goal in life is to enjoy life. Like, that is and essentially that's kind of the end, the chief end of man without God is to think that my personal happiness is the goal. And if that is your goal, whatever moments you do feel happy, you know that they're fleeting. And they don't pay forward because you have another rough patch ahead, or just responsibilities that we have to take care of. As a goal in and of itself has tremendous limits. God gives us such greater pleasures that are found in Him. If we are eating and drinking deeply of God, and this is the point of Solomon by the end of Ecclesiastes, and I just keep making it now. All of these things, as good as they are limited, and we must find our ultimate contentment in the ongoing, unlimited relationship with Jesus, abiding in Jesus. We have to drink of him deeply, eat from him deeply every single day. And that's the only thing that lasts. That's the only thing that really brings true contentment. All these other good things have limits, and that's the point of the writer of Ecclesiastes. So today's thought, pleasure is good, but understand it has limits. That's not the chief goal of man. We don't work all week and with the goal of the weekend. The weekend's good, but it's limited. You're going to get right back to work. We have to find a deeper sense of contentment. And the Bible tells us, and our own experience tells us, that is found in God alone. So keep these things in mind, and as we grow in wisdom from the writer of Ecclesiastes. God bless you today. We will see you on Monday, if not on Sunday morning. Have a great weekend.